into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. The controversies and allegations continue to take center stage in Formula One. The latest is former Ferrari driver Felipe Massa, who's filed a suit that could put Lewis Hamilton in a tough spot. More on that in the show. Cristiano Ronaldo continues to grab all the headlines. He's spoken out on the alleged obscene gesture and it's defended it. We'll get you his stance and what Al-Nassr has gone through post that incident and his suspension. And of course, who is Pakistan Captain Shaheen Shah Afridi shushing in his celebrations at the Pakistan Super League? Stay on to know more on that. But first, Sports 360. We'll start with tennis. Men's world number one Novak Djokovic crashed out of the Indian Wells Masters. He was stunned by Italian Luca Nardi. Main draw entrant as a lucky loser. Nardi notched the biggest win of his career by beating Djokovic 6-4, 3-6, 6-3. In football, Chelsea beat Newcastle United 3-2 in the Premier League earlier today. Cole Palmer was the star of the show for the Blues. He contributed with an assist in the first goal and netted the second. Chelsea are 11th in the table, 1 point behind Newcastle. In cricket, Indian pacer Mohammad Shami is set to miss the T20 World Cup this year. India's cricket board BCCI confirmed and said he will be back in action only in September. But in other good news, Rishabh Pant is all set to make a comeback to competitive cricket with the IPL, the Indian Premier League, and by that extension will be available for the T20 World Cup. Mitchell Marsh is expected to lead Australia in the upcoming T20 World Cup. Head coach Andrew McDonald backed the all-rounder to take up the role ahead of Pat Cummins. McDonald is part of the selection panel chaired by George Bailey. Marsh captained the side in India, South Africa, New Zealand and in the recent home series against West Indies. And India's Vishnu Saravanan sailed to victory at the Europa Cup 2024 in Spain. The Indian sailor won gold in the men's one-person dinghy ILCA 7 event. Saravanan topped the 91 boat race with 17 net points. He'd also secured a Paris 2024 Olympics quota for India earlier this year. Nothing is certain in sports, and I mean absolutely certain. A field where success isn't guaranteed by just hard work. There are various factors that determine the outcome, and more so in team sports, where there's so many variables which aren't really in control of a single individual. And that's why when an athlete continues to perform for years and at the top and stays there, he is a legend like Cristiano Ronaldo. The Portuguese has managed to stamp his class in every league he's played in. Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and things were no different in the Saudi Pro League too. The club Al-Nassr was winning and Ronaldo was leading from the front until, of course, the suspension. Cristiano Ronaldo was suspended for one game by the Saudi Football Federation. The reason was splashed all over because it became fodder for viral memes throughout the internet. Ronaldo was suspended for what was believed to be an obscene gesture. This was after Al-Nassr's 3-2 win over Saudi club Al-Shabab. What happened thereafter? Momentum shifted. Al-Nassr's game against Al-Hazm ended in a 4-all draw. Ronaldo, of course, was watching that game from the sidelines. He'd missed that one. And despite Ronaldo's comeback against Al-Ain in AFC Champions League, Al-Nassr lost 1-0 in the first leg. And his comeback in the Saudi League too resulted in a 3-1 loss against Al-Raid. Now, the latest salt to Ronaldo's wounds, and of course, by that extension, Al-Nassr is their exit in AFC Champions League. They were knocked out in a penalty shootout in the quarter-finals against Al-Ain. Ronaldo may have been suspended for just the one game, but it has seemingly shifted the momentum and applied the brakes to a club on song. A suspension is not to be taken too lightly. It affects the player, his psyche, and maybe even the team too, and his teammates. As was seen during the last game when they were knocked out of the quarterfinals, he missed a sitter from barely 3 yards and his reaction said it all right after. He couldn't believe it himself and let out a frustrated gasp. If Ronaldo had scored in the regulation time, Al-Nassr would have won in regulation time. The game would not have gone into penalty shootout. So yes, momentum shift or no, some things of course changed post that incident. Ronaldo cupping his ear and repeatedly thrusting his hand near his pelvis, it seemed like he was making that gesture towards the Al-Shabab fans who had kept chanting Messi's name to taunt Ronaldo. And having followed his career closely, I can firmly say that's one thing Ronaldo doesn't like. The gesture brought with it, of course, a huge uproar, which obviously forced the Saudi Football Federation's Ethics Committee to take stern action. Ronaldo himself has come out, of course, to speak on this embarrassing episode.
To talk about the case in which I was punished for a game. What I did was a misunderstanding. I will always respect the cultures of all countries, but what people see is not always reality.
Cristiano Ronaldo says it was a misunderstanding, nothing more. Not to read too much into this, but a gesture like that is bound to attract criticism. You are a superstar, and just about everything you do is keenly watched, followed, and you are in another country that doesn't really share the sentiments that you are used to or surrounded by before. Ronaldo tried to clarify this point as well.
Sometimes the passion of the game leads us to make some mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes. Whenever I make them, I don't do it on purpose. Every day I try to be a better man. I can't promise because I'm a human being. Nobody is perfect. Life is made of mistakes. What I can promise is that I'm a player who gives everything on the field. A player with passion, a player who always wants to win. I'm a player who doesn't like to see people doing unsportsmanlike things. I'm happy to be in Saudi Arabia and I'm happy to represent Al-Nassr.
Interesting, that statement, and he's definitely trying to appease his fans and the sporting public, and maybe it'll work. More importantly, Ronaldo says he cannot promise to bring about a change because he's human and he's being honest enough to admit his flaws. He isn't lying. The heat of the moment is understandable, coming from someone who always wants to win. We know that already, haven't we seen it enough? Be it Europe, Saudi, or the international circuit itself, he doesn't like to lose. Ronaldo's urge to stay on top is quite evident, and that is why yesterday's Champions League exit would have rankled him, hurt him. It isn't the UEFA Champions League, yes, but Ronaldo not playing in any Champions League is something fans can't accept. Maybe this break in momentum is required for some introspection of changing tack, changing his approach and his attitude, because this is the same country that welcomed Ronaldo and adjusted its rules to accommodate Cristiano Ronaldo and his lifestyle. And like we said at the start, nothing is guaranteed in sports. So best would be to control the controllables, something Ronaldo should do to keep his hunger and his passion burning through. The PSL, or the Pakistan Super League, is underway. It's the T20 tournament hosted in Pakistan. No Indian cricketers, of course, in the squads, but there are a few foreign players who are also present. It's a league that they are very proud of. We're speaking of one particular team, though, the Lahore Qalandars. They are defending champions of the PSL. And we're referring to one particular cricketer here in this story, which is the captain of the Qalandars, Shaheen Shah Afridi. Now, it's been a turbulent time for Pakistan cricketers at large, and Pakistan cricket too. From being the #1 ranked team in ODI cricket to crashing out of the World Cup last year in India, things have gone south rather quickly for this side. A complete overhaul followed, details of which we've been well documented right here for you on Firstpost, and the latest in the series of what we can only term as events that can only happen in Pakistan cricket is that Haris Rauf contract was terminated by the PCB and the board sacked the director of cricket, Mohammad Hafiz. And there are some murmurs of general displeasure surrounding the new captains and a strong one of reinstating Babar Azam. The current captain of the national side is Shaheen Shah Afridi in the shorter format, who also has been in the middle of some controversies himself. Reports suggested a rift between him and Babar Azam, which seemingly smoothed over at the World Cup. Then between him and the director of cricket, Mohammad Hafiz. And now the latest in that list is former Pakistan great Wasim Akram. Akram has been critical of Shaheen Shah's bowling for a while now. And let's be honest, coming in as a key threat in the World Cup last year in India, Shaheen Afridi failed to live up to that tag. His performance at the World Cup was below par and he has not really looked like the menacing bowler he once was. And Akram said so in as many words.
Even with the new ball, we all were watching it together. He was bowling half volleys. He needs to understand that batsmen now have understood that the first 2 balls from Shaheen will be Yorkers. In the death, he will either bowl slow cutter or will bowl on the stumps around the wicket. Batsmen are prepared for it now.
And it's not just his bowling skills or the lack of guile that Akram is clearly referring to and critiquing here. He's also called Shaheen out on some of his decisions as a skipper. particularly when he's brought himself up the order ahead of proper pinch hitters, big hitters like David Wiese and Sikandar Raza. Shaheen Shah Afridi ended up scoring just 1 run in that game and Akram let loose.
Shaheen needs to be told that he hasn't become an all-rounder yet. You have world-class hitters in your team whose job is to come and score runs in the last 3 overs, Wiese and Raza. Shaheen scored 1 of 3 while Raza scored 22 of 16 and Wiese 24 of 19. They took the score to 177. It's not mandatory that if you are captain you have to come out to bat. Observe the situation and whether there are better players and hitters in the dugout. If Shaheen had done that, maybe they would have made 190.
That ought to have pinched Shaheen Shah Afridi because he promoted himself up the order once again in Lahore's match against Quetta Gladiators. And he struck a super cameo. He scored a half century and then instead of raising his bat, celebrating, acknowledging the cheers like what normally batters do, Shaheen Afridi does this, almost like shushing his critics. Or should I say, one critic in particular, Wasim Akram. Or so it would seem. Akram still stuck by his guns, saying while he got the runs to back himself, at least this time, you have 2 big hitters warming the bench and getting no game time. Lahore set Quetta a target of 167 and it was down to the last over. The bowler, Captain Shaheen Afridi, took the onus with the bat, so I guess he felt he should do the same with the ball. Now, while it paid off with the bat, he couldn't really do the same while defending. 14 runs in the last over, Afridi just had to keep it tight. He let 3 big hits, 2 fours and a massive 6 off the last ball to give Quetta the win. And with that, Lahore are languishing at the bottom of the points table, far from how they performed the last 2 seasons where they won. And of course, one man surely had the last laugh in this little battle, and that was Wasim Akram. I understand the frustration. Wasim Akram was part of the golden generation of Pakistan cricketers, so to see the current lot not really living up to that can be quite hard. But maybe he should cut Shaheen Afridi some slack. It's great to step up, to take the plate and take onus to deliver from the front as a captain, as a leader. And it's a gamble, right? Some moves come off like magic and some just don't. But maybe Shaheen Afridi will think twice to celebrate a little too early the next time around. Formula One is mired in controversies. We've been bringing that to you over the last few days. Allegations and so much talk is about what's happening off the tracks than on it. The latest is former Ferrari driver Felipe Massa's filing a suit. Now, Lewis Hamilton may not be finishing on the podiums lately, but he's still regarded as one of the greatest in Formula One. He did what Max Verstappen is doing in the current era, dominate the Formula One season. Hamilton, with 7 world titles, is level with the great Michael Schumacher. 7 world championship titles. No one has won more than that. But here's where Massa could put a spanner in the works, and with not just any world title, Hamilton's first, the one in 2008 with McLaren, is at risk of being taken away. Felipe Massa has filed a lawsuit against F1, FIA, and the former chief executive of the Formula One group, Bernie Ecclestone. Massa believes he's the rightful winner of the 2008 title that he lost to Hamilton by just 1 point.
Formula One finds itself in the thick of things as far as off-the-track drama is concerned. Whether it's the Christian Horner episode and the power tussle in Red Bull, or the FIA boss coming under fire for some serious allegations of misuse of authority and wrongdoing, there's another one added to that list. Former Ferrari driver Felipe Massa has come out all of a sudden and has launched a legal action against F1, the FIA and Bernie Ecclestone. Massa believes he is the rightful winner of the 2008 World Championship title, particularly the Singapore Grand Prix. Remember, Massa lost the 2008 title to Lewis Hamilton by just 1 point. This happened after he failed to have a podium finish in the Singapore Grand Prix. So here's a recap to jog your memory of what happened. Renault staged a win for Fernando Alonso at the Singapore Grand Prix. Renault ordered Alonso's teammate Nelson Piquet to crash into a car. Nelson Piquet crashed into the wall at the 17th turn of the 14th lap of the race. The location of the accident meant the safety car had to be deployed. The safety car is a physical car which is brought out onto the track to limit the speed of cars. And with the arrival of the safety car, the debris was cleared. That is, any item present on the track from the damage that could endanger the driver's safety. Ferrari's Massa, who was leading at the time of Piquet's deliberate crash, finished 13th. before losing the championship at the final round in Brazil. Piquet revealed the following season that he was under instruction to deliberately crash. However, Eccleston, who oversaw F1 for 4 decades, said last year that the executives were aware of the cover-up before the 2008 campaign concluded.
If he had asked me, I would have said it was the complete right thing to do, to sue and to let an English judge decide what is right and wrong. I cannot say anything about the outcome and what will happen. I have not got a clue. I don't think anyone has. But from his point of view, it is better that an English judge comes up with a verdict. It will be of more help for him.
All these revelations puts the F1, the FIA and even Eccleston under the scanner. Massa, with his lawsuit, is seeking justice. He wants the FIA to acknowledge that it breached its regulations. He feels there was negligence in prompt investigations regarding the crash. That made him lose out on a world title. He's also seeking compensation for the financial losses he suffered because of this. And of course, the big one, the World Championship title that he lost by just 1 point. After Eccleston's revelation, the matter came up last year as well, but Massa hadn't filed a lawsuit then. Hamilton, whose World Championship is at stake now, dismissed the matter, saying he had other things to focus on.
If that's the direction Felipe wants to go, that's his decision. I prefer not to focus on the past, whether it's 15 years ago, 2 years ago or 3 days ago. I'm only interested in the present.
Hamilton may say that he isn't concerned, but he realizes the title holds a lot of significance. Hamilton is moving to Ferrari in search of the very world title that has eluded him for a while now. And if his 2008 title is at a risk of being taken away, that's not just a nostalgic chapter erased, but will also be a dent to his legacy.
Time for last serve. Now, when Paris introduced breakdancing as a sport in 2024 Olympics, a plumber from Hong Kong was super excited. But after failing to qualify for the Olympics, many obviously would expect him to quit, but he's not done just yet. That's some skill there. And as they say, never give up on your true passion. Thanks for joining in here on Firstpost today. I'll see you again with lots more tomorrow.